want to talk about African women and history. They are neither in history nor are they historians. But I contend that in African families and homes, Makulu, Gogo, Nkono is the source of historical knowledge about family, about the village, and about various incidents that have taken place. She initiates the young, the children, through Izinganekwane, through Inzomi, and she further initiates the grandchildren through Iziduko, Izibongo, the clan praises. And the individual begins by knowing her family history, even before she ventures out to pick a bit about Jan van Riebeeck. Rhodes was a place of employment for the young people here in Grahamstown. I taught in the local schools, and one day I would miss a student. Where is she? And they would say, "It's got a job at Rhodes." And there was this excitement in the classroom. "It's got a job at Rhodes." And they'd got a job at Rhodes in the gardens. And they'd got a job at Rhodes in the kitchens. But still in the 1970s, there came something that shook the university, that had for a very long time settled quietly on the foothills of the land of Amakakabe. And that was the coming of the non-traditional students. So there was a coming of non-traditional students who in fact were black students into Rhodes. And that shook Rhodes to the core, to its core, because it had always made this, given this impression to itself that it was a liberal university, that it was opposed to anything that was discriminatory. But then the black student came.
This sense of disquiet is captured by Fanon when he talks about being confronted with the exclamation, "Look, a Negro." This being noticed, being looked at, being categorized, woven, Fanon says, out of 1,000 details, anecdotes, and stories, is in my view one of the unquestioned and often unnoticed ways that women, especially powerful women, are diminished and put in our place. Not only by men, but also by one another. After all, we are ourselves not immune to the normalizing rituals, practices, and taken for granted truths that invade the spaces we inhabit. I think we're often quite uncritical about how our own gaze upon one another is constituted. What assumptions we ourselves are subject to as we discipline one another. The look, Fanon says, burdens me, challenges my claims on the world, where I can be and who I can be. Hugo's point is that we need to understand institutional culture as in part a social-spatial phenomenon. Lefebvre famously noted that it's by means of the body that space is perceived, lived, and produced. So each living body is space and has its space. It produces its space and it is produced by space. Bodies don't simply move through spaces but are constituted by them. This makes it possible to see how the arrival of bodies in a space not constituted their natural domain, not historically and conceptually reserved for us, is very disruptive of those spaces.
I think in the late 1960s, there were things to fight about for students, in the apartheid era. There were real issues to fight over, and students, minority students, did fight. In my time, there was a sit-in in the council chamber. And I also found when I came back in the early 1990s, from 1991 to 1994, the politics of the country was quite volatile, and that was manifested on campus. There was a lot of student activity, burning tires in front of the main admin building. And then from about the mid-1990s, that just disappeared. Now I'm completely out of touch with student political culture now. I don't know what, but I get a sense that a sort of rather comfortable middle class outlook.